Jack Palance was an American actor. During half a century of film and television appearances, Palance was nominated for 3 Academy Awards, all for Best Actor in a Supporting Role, winning in 1991 for his role in City Slickers. Early life: Palance was born Volodymyr Palahniuk on February 18, 1919 in the Latimer Mines section of Hazel Township, Luzerne County, Pennsylvania, to Anna and Ivan Palahniuk, an anthracite coal miner. Palance's parents were Ukrainian immigrants, his father a native of Ivane Zolot in southwestern Ukraine and his mother from the Lviv Oblast. One of 6 children, he worked in coal mines during his youth before becoming a professional boxer in the late 1930s. Fighting under the name Jack Brazzo, Palance reportedly compiled a record of 15 consecutive victories with 12 knockouts before losing a close decision to future heavyweight contender Joe Baxi in a Pier 6 brawl. Years later he recounted, "Then, I thought, you must be nuts to get your head beaten for $200. Palance's athletic ability ranged away from the squared circle, as well. He was an outstanding high school football player and this skill was recognized by Raymond Wolf, the head coach at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Palance began his career at Carolina as a fullback, but Coach Wolf and the staff felt that he was best suited to play in the line and, after some consideration, Palance left the game for good. With the outbreak of World War II, Palance's athletic career ended and his military career began as a member of the United States Army Air Forces. Palance's rugged face, which took many beatings in the boxing ring, was said to have become disfigured while bailing out of a burning B-24 Liberator bomber during a training flight over southern Arizona. His distinctive cheekbones and deep-set eyes were said to have been the result of reconstructive surgery. The story behind Palance's face was repeated numerous times, but upon his death, several obituaries of Palance quoted him as saying that the entire story had been contrived. Studio press agents make up anything they want to, and reporters go along with it. One flack created the legend that I had been blown up in an air crash during the war, and my face had to be put back together by way of plastic surgery. If it is a bionic face, why didn't they do a better job of it? Palance was honorably discharged from the Army Air Corps in 1944. After the war he attended Stanford University, leaving 1 credit shy of graduating to pursue a career in the theater. During his university years, to make ends meet he also worked as a short-order cook, waiter, soda jerk, lifeguard at Jones Beach State Park, and photographer's model. Palance's last name was actually a derivative of his original name. In an episode of What's My Line?, he describes how no one could pronounce his last name and it was suggested he be called Polanski. From that he decided to just use Palance instead. Career: Palance's acting break came as Marlon Brando's understudy in A Streetcar Named Desire, and he eventually replaced Brando on stage as Stanley Kowalski. In 1947, Palance made his Broadway debut. He debuted on television in 1949, and this was followed a year later by his screen debut in the movie Panic in the Streets. The very same year he was featured in Halls of Montezuma about the U.S. Marines in World War II, where he was credited as Walter Palance. Palance was quickly recognized for his skill as a character actor, receiving an Oscar nomination for only his 3rd film role, as Lester Blaine in Sudden Fear. The following year, Palance was again nominated for an Oscar, this time for his role as the hired gunfighter Jack Wilson in Shane. Several other Western roles followed, but he also played such varied roles as Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Dracula and Attila the Hun. 3 years before Palance played the part, comic book artist Gene Cullen based his interpretation of Dracula for the acclaimed series The Tomb of Dracula on Palance, explaining, "He had that cadaverous look, a serpentine look on his face. I knew that Jack Palance would do the perfect Dracula." He became a Hollywood leading man after his Shane success, starring in Man in the Attic, followed by mid-50s films such as The Big Knife, in which he played a conflicted Hollywood movie star, and I Died 1,000 Times, a scene-by-scene remake of 1941's High Sierra with Palance in the Humphrey Bogart role. In 1957, Palance won an Emmy for Best Actor for his portrayal of Mountain McClintock in the Playhouse 90 production of Rod Serling's Requiem for a Heavyweight. Jean-Luc Godard persuaded Palance to take on the role of Hollywood producer Jeremy Proksch in the 1963 Nouvelle Vague movie La Mare copyright Pry with Brigitte Bardot and Michel Piccoli. Although the main dialogue was in French, Palance spoke mostly English. Later, in 1966, he appeared in the movie Alice Through the Looking Glass directed by Alan Hanley in which he played the Jabberwock. He had a featured role opposite Lee Marvin and Burt Lancaster in the 1966 Western adventure The Professionals. In 1969, Palance recorded a country music album in Nashville, released on Warner Brothers Records. It featured Palance's self-penned song The Meanest Guy That Ever Lived. The album was re-released on CD in 2003 by the Water label. Palance starred in the television series Bronx between 1975 and 1976 for MGM Television. In 1982, Palance began hosting a television revival of Ripley's Believe It or Not. The weekly series ran from 1982 to 1986 on the American ABC network. The series also starred 3 different co-hosts from season to season, including Palance's daughter Holly Palance, actress Catherine Shirriff and singer Marie Osmond. Ripley's Believe It or Not was in rerun syndication on the Sci-Fi Channel and Sci-Fi Channel during the 1990s. Palance's success on Ripley's Believe It or Not resulted in a demand for his services. He made memorable appearances in Young Guns, Tango and Cash and Tim Burton's Batman, all of which served to reinvigorate his movie career. Palance would be involved in new projects each year right up to the start of the 21st century. He also performed on Roger Waters' first solo album release The Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking in 1984. Palance, at the time chairman of the Hollywood Trident Foundation, walked out of a Russian film festival in Hollywood in 2004. After being introduced, Palance said, "I feel like I walked into the wrong room by mistake. I think that Russian film is interesting, but I have nothing to do with Russia or Russian film. My parents were born in Ukraine, I'm Ukrainian. I'm not Russian. So, excuse me, but I don't belong here. It's best if we leave." Palance was awarded the title of People's Artist by the President Vladimir Putin on that occasion. However, Palance refused the title. In 2001, Palance returned to the recording studio as a special guest on friend Laurie Zed's Heart of the Holidays album to narrate the famous classic poem The Night Before Christmas. In 2002, he starred in the television movie Living with the Dead opposite Ted Danson, Mary Steenburgen and Diane Ladd. In 2004, he starred in another television production, Back When We Were Grown-Ups opposite Blythe Danner. Palance played Poppy. This would be his final performance. According to writer Mark Ivania, comic book creator Jack Kirby modeled his character Darkseid on the actor. Legendary advertising copywriter Eric Molina repeatedly states the Palance's skin bracelet commercial is the reason he entered the profession. Academy Award 4 decades after his film debut, Palance won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor on March 30, 1992. For his performance as Cowboy Curly Washburn in the 1991 comedy City Slickers. Stepping on stage to accept the award, the intimidatingly fit 6 feet 4 inches actor looked down at 5 feet 7 Oscar host Billy Crystal, and joked mimicking one of his lines from the film Billy Crystal. "I crap bigger than him." He then dropped to the floor and demonstrated his ability, at age 73, to perform one-handed push-ups. Crystal turned this into a running gag. At first, he quipped, "I told Jack before the ceremony, decaf, Jack, decaf." Then at various points in the broadcast he announced that Palance had done the following, was backstage on the Stairmaster. Just bungee jumped off the Hollywood sign. Rendezvoused with the space shuttle in orbit. Furthered all the children in a production number. Been named People magazine's sexiest man alive. Had won the New York primary election. At the end of the broadcast, Crystal told everyone he would like to see them again, but, "I've just been informed Jack Palance will be hosting next year." Years later, Billy Crystal appeared on Inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton and fondly recalled that after the Oscar ceremony Palance approached him during the reception. He stopped me and put his arms out and went, "Billy Crystal, who thought it would be you?" It was his really funny way of saying thank you to a little New York Jewy guy who got him the Oscars. In 1993, during the opening of the Oscars, a spoof of that Oscar highlight featured Palance appearing to drag in an enormous Academy Award statuette with Crystal again hosting, riding on the rear end of it. Halfway across the stage, Palance dropped to the ground as if exhausted, but then performed several one-armed push-ups before regaining his feet and dragging the giant Oscar the rest of the way across the stage. Death and Legacy. On November 10, 2006, Palance died of natural causes at age 87 at his daughter Holly's home in Montecito in Santa Barbara County. His remains were cremated, his ashes retained by family and friends. Jack Palance lived for a number of years around Tehachapi, near Bakersfield, in Southern California. Palance has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 6608 Hollywood Boulevard. In 1992, he was inducted into the Western Performers Hall of Fame at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Personal life. Palance was married to his first wife, Virginia Baker, from 1949 to 1968. They had 3 children, Holly, an actress, Brooke and Cody. On New Year's Day 2003, Palance's first wife Virginia Baker, was struck and killed by a car in Los Angeles. His daughter Brooke married Michael Wilding, son of Michael Wilding Sr. and Elizabeth Taylor. They have 3 children. Cody Palance, an actor himself, appeared alongside his father in the film Young Guns. Cody would die from malignant melanoma at age 42 on July 16, 1998. Palance had hosted the Cody Palance Memorial Golf Classic to raise awareness and funds for a cancer center in Los Angeles. Aside from acting, Cody was also a musician. In May 1987, Palance married his second wife, Elaine Rogers. Palance painted and sold landscape art, with a poem included on the back of each picture. He was also the author of The Forest of Love, a book of poems published in 1996 by Summer House Press. Palance acknowledged a lifelong attachment to his Pennsylvania heritage and visited there when able. Shortly before his death he placed his Butler Township, Pennsylvania, Hollybrook farm up for sale and his personal art collection up for auction. Filmography. Television movies mini-series television shows Discography, Palance, Warner Brothers, 1969. References. External links, Jack Palance at the Internet Movie Database, Jack Palance at the TCM Movie Database, Jack Palance at the Internet Broadway Database, Jack Palance at Find a Grave, BBC News Euro Western star Jack Palance dies, CNN News Euro Oscar winner Jack Palance dead at 87.